Hello, hello, everybody, and welcome to a late night 12 frames per second. I am Hex, and I am once more playing my new boy, my soft boy, my traumatized boy, but don't worry, this is soft times. Uh, I'm playing Matthias today, and I am joined by my good friend. Please introduce yourself.
Hello, I am Whirlwind Gale, otherwise known as Gale, otherwise known as Whirl. And I am also here.
Mm-hmm,
I am also here playing a boy.
mm-hmm.
So
And,
that's fun.
yeah. So, the bit of backstory is Matthias met with I say met, it was more like Decimal kind of dragged him out of the house because he hadn't left the house since he got there. Uh you know,
It's fine, don't worry about it.
he'll get there. Okay? He'll get there. It's fine. But
He's adapting.
he is. So he'll get there, but he hadn't left the house. Decimal made him leave and, enrichment. Uh and mentioned that if he wanted answers on, what the hell with the pocket watch, he could talk with Memoir Alejo. And so he went back to he was summarily returned to network, and of course he mentions this to Lynn and Gregory, who will proceed to get him in touch with one Memoir Alejo, um, who's currently having some sad boy times, but it's okay. Uh, they
So, alright, it's fine. It's just a slight daily existential crisis. It's great.
everything's okay. But so basically, he was told, "Oh yeah, you can find Memoir in the barn," and he was given the vague idea of where to find the barn. Um, and told that, Karek will help you also get there, not to worry. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and it took a little coaxing from other people to basically say, "Hey, go visit Memoir." And for him to do that, but he did that. So he's doing that. So he goes and he's making his way through Halloween Town. Let me just make one funky roll to see how lost he gets. Uh Listen, Kara's nice. Kara is still Kara. He does have
Kara
advantage
is
though.
still Kara.
He does have advantage on all checks to navigate Halloween Town, which is very good. Um and he got
Because you've befriended the town.
well, he befriended the town, but also like recognizes like in that he found the town's tell. Like in the same way that changelings have tells. Um
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, he got a 17, so he got a little bit turned around. Because I mean, understandably, he doesn't know the town very well. Uh, but he's navigating, and he gets to the forest where this barn is. Um, and
Oh,
he's oh yep,
curious question, real quick.
yes.
So, the specific directions to get to the barn, because there is, specific directions,
Mm-hmm.
would have included, oh, yeah, you have to go to the junkyard on the edge of town and then go through that towards the back edge of it where the train tracks are and over the train tracks.
Yep.
How's he feeling about those directions?
Uh, he's I mean a little odd, but he's it's still in town, so he's, pretty sure that it still follows with the unspoken quote unquote order of don't leave town.
Mm-hmm.
So he's doing okay. It's pretty far out, so he's kind of like but Kara's keeping an eye on him. It's okay. Uh
Mm-hmm.
so he's making his way with, just the general nervousness of, well, a cat, but by God, he's making his way. Um, a cat in an unfamiliar place, just kind of slinking around. But he's doing it. And when he sees the barn, there is very much just a like that slump of, oh, thank God I found it. Because, to be fair, he was a little like, this is new and I'm gonna get lost and oh god, everything bad will happen, you know. That fun.
The anxiety.
The anxiety of just everything's gonna go to shit, oh god. But he found it, so it's okay. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and his his instinct. Does the barn even have doors?
Okay, so here's the thing about the barn. Let me
Yeah.
give you a little bit of a word picture.
Yep.
Uh, Partially because I love this location with all of my heart. Um, so from afar, it looks fairly normal. It's just
Mhm.
this kind of whitewashed, overgrown barn. Like it by whitewashed, I mean that all the paint is just faded to a sort of gray.
Mhm.
Um, it's this whitewashed sort of barn, slightly overgrown with ivy and whatnot, in the middle of a giant field of poppies,
Ooh.
with a little duck pond on the, it's to the right, on the right side of the building.
Okay.
Sorry, I had to make my mental map.
Yep.
Uh, and it's in kind of this clearing field, again, full of poppies.
Yep. Okay. Uh
Um, but as you approach, you notice something.
uh-huh.
This barn is obscenely fucking large.
Yeah.
Like, this thing is massive.
Yeah.
And you get to the front doors because there is, a set of front doors, like there usually are on a barn.
Yep.
The things that you open to let people out, to let out your animals.
Yep.
What the fuck kind of animal were they keeping in here?
Mhm. Cool.
Because this door is big enough that you could stack 2 elephants on top of each other and they could get through without bumping their heads.
He is very much just why barn big.
And you can roll perception if you'd like.
Cool. Do 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 do. That's a nat 20.
Fuck yeah, nice job. Okay, so with a nat 20, you notice a couple things.
Mhm.
Firstly, you're standing in front of the barn. You can look up and see that the hayloft doors are slightly open.
Okay.
You can look down and see that kind of under your feet, there's like a vaguely person-shaped imprint in the ground. It is
Uh-huh.
several months old at this point, and it doesn't look like, oh, someone was buried here. No, it looks like somebody smacked face
Yep.
first into the ground.
Yep. Cool. All right. Cool.
Um, and you also notice that kind of from that same sort of dirt area in front of the doors, there's a bit of a desire trail leading around to the side of the building.
Okay. So he's gonna peek around the side of the building, see if there might be a smaller door on that side.
There is, in fact, a small yard, with a shed in it, and on that side of the barn, there is a set of double doors that are wide open and much smaller. You could maybe fit 1 elephant through there.
All right, cool. So he's gonna head up to the doors. He is not going to enter the barn. I'm so sorry. This boy is polite. He is in fact knocking on the doors and kind of peeking inside.
All right. Rolling off of your nat 20 perception roll, because damn.
Yeah.
This boy observant as Peck.
He very observant.
So, let me ask you a question. What was Matthias expecting to find?
He has no idea. He was told to go find Memoir Alejo at the barn. Lynn probably called him TikTok. Maybe mentioned something about bird. So he was probably expecting like maybe a toon bird. That might be the closest, is yeah, he was maybe expecting like a toon bird.
Okay. Okay. So, looking into the barn itself, it's not. I can't say that it defies your expectations because you didn't really have any expectations towards the barn itself, from what I'm hearing.
He had no zero expectations on barn. He saw barn and he maybe figured like kind of workshop, maybe. Uh which
Shop is a word for it.
yeah.
Because as you look inside, the first thing that catches your eye is there are so many shiny things.
Yeah.
There are so many shiny, sparkly things. Um, there are shelves with pieces of blown glass work and shiny bits of metal. There are antiques that have been restored and polished to, a like new shine. Um, you peek through the door and you can smell like a fireplace and you can hear the warm crackle of the fire and the quiet roar of the furnace that's over off to one side.
Mm-hmm.
There is also, that slight lingering hay smell that you get in a barn.
Yep.
And there's also a very strong smell of rain, which is weird because it's not raining.
It is not.
And there is from somewhere, possibly from the many, 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 many clocks that are on these shelves full of projects completed and uncompleted, uh, there is the sound of ticking clockwork.
Yep. Which is
Uh,
oddly soothing, but you know.
mhm.
Cool.
And as for a bird tune, you don't see one, but you do see um someone sitting at sort of a workbench or a table um with very large black bird wings uh with two bright golden eyes
Ooh, all right.
which lock onto you as you tap on the door.
Yep. There might be a slight squeak, but he waits to be acknowledged because he is a polite boy.
um and this figure at the table they were kind of, slumped forward, head on crossed arms, just very much they might have been asleep. You don't know.
Might have.
And he sits up, he rubs his eyes, he looks over, and just, oh, you're new. Welcome to the barn. How can I help you?
I I was I was told to find a Memoir Alejo and that he could probably answer a couple of questions I had. He is still standing outside. He but he's like fiddling with his sleeves.
And this guy will nod and run a ceramic can through his hair and nod again and say, "Well, you found him. Hello, Memoir Alejo. Pleased to make your acquaintance. You can come inside if you like. It's cold out."
He will step inside once invited in.
And Memoir will kind of, swing his legs over the bench and stand up and big stretchy.
Yep. Matthias is just kind of looking around the barn. Um, but once Memoir does, introduce and say pleased to make your acquaintance, he does respond with uh Matthias, sir.
You don't need to call me sir. Please don't, actually. But
uh, right, okay. Apologies. Yes.
no worries. I mean, I've done it myself. It's polite, but eh. He kind of gestures at himself and, jokingly raises an eyebrow. I'm not really the sort of person who gets to be called sir, you know?
You just blink. Memoir, you are totally free to roll insight on this poor boy.
Happily. That's a 25. Give me your secrets, changeling child.
Well, first of all, this child he doesn't look like a changeling right now. He looked
Mm-hmm.
like an elf. He is a dark-skinned, dark-haired elf, um,
Mm-hmm.
who
Mm-hmm.
has notably violet eyes, and his hair is holy shit. That is long. Uh,
That is very long.
it is very long. It is braided and to his knees braided. It is long. Uh, It is long and thick and holy shit. How do you deal with that? And the answer is you keep it braided as long as possible. Um, he, you make that gesture of like, I'm not exactly the type of person to get to call who gets called sir, and uh, you get the immediate impression of like everybody is sir to this boy. He is meek would be the best word to use.
He is excessively polite.
He is so polite. He is exceedingly polite. Any landlord would allow him in the apartment. He is so polite. But also,
I will make an exception because he looks very polite.
he is very polite. Um, he is also just so like this boy is anxiety. Like he is polite and it is the polite born of anxiety. Uh
Oh, you poor sweet child.
yeah. He is a pampered soft boy who is very polite and very anxious. And he is picking at his sleeves and like his posture is he's not very tall. He's only like 5'4". He might
He's
be
actually taller than Memoir.
he might be like he might be a couple inches taller in this form. But he's not very tall by like I guess in this instance elf standards. He's actually fairly short. But
Mm-hmm.
he's making himself smaller. Like the head's kind of like ducked, his shoulders are slouched, uh knees bent just a little bit. Like he's it's like he's trying to be smaller than Memoir. But
Which is hard because Memoir is 5'0". He's
yeah.
very small.
Yeah, he can't shrink down that much, but the attempt to be smaller than he is there.
Mm-hmm. And Memoir will kind of note all this down in his head and kind of smile. And Matthias, one more little thing you might notice with your 25 perception. This is the last time I'm going to use that roll.
Yep.
Uh, you came here to ask about something specific,
Yep.
and you catch a glint of that same kind of metal because this person, Memoir Alejo, he has a very similar watch hanging off of a chain around his neck.
Ooh. And yeah, Matthias does in fact take like immediate notice of that. Like focus hones in on, oh, hey, that is in fact what I'm here for. And Memoir clocks that.
Mm-hmm. And he does kind of raise a hand to the watch and run his fingers over the edges of it and
Mm-hmm.
say, I can do my best to answer your questions. I do have my own touch of magic that makes finding answers, well, something I'm uniquely geared towards. Although I can't promise something satisfying for everything you ask. Do you like tea?
Uh, tea is fine. Uh, he he hasn't had a lot of tea, but he'll drink tea. Uh,
You have a
but
taste preference?
uh, whatever you make will be fine.
Rolling insight again. Basically, insight to try and check, like, okay, is there actually something that this person would find disgusting that I don't want to give them, or.
Yeah. All right.
That's a 20.
Anything is fine. He'll drink whatever the hell he's given.
Cool. Memoir will kind of cross to the living space over on sort of like the corner of the room to Matthias's. Wait, you came in through the side door, so it would be on your left.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I keep having to like turn around and gesture with my hands
You're
to determine where things are.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, so on your left, there's like an area where there's like a couple couches and a coffee table, and there's a sort of very hand-built looking brick fireplace
yeah. Mm-hmm.
that Memoir starts up, and he picks up a copper kettle, fills it with water from the sink, and hangs that on a bar over the fire.
Which is like that's all very new. Matthias is watching that, very interested, just like, huh, never seen anyone do tea like this before. He
A bit
doesn't
old-fashioned, but
he he just kind of watches, and it's just that quiet little like fascinating. Uh but he'll, follow Memoir over. If Memoir gestures for him to sit somewhere, he'll sit.
Memoir won't like gesture for him to sit if he doesn't want to. He just kind of, you know, in his own way, Memoir is very much himself, and
Mm-hmm.
he kind of he doesn't tell people what to do when interacting with him. He'll do what he'll do, and they'll react how they'll react.
Oh, well. In that case, Matthias is just like he follows Memoir, and then he kind of like is standing and he's waiting for tea.
And Memoir will, he's kind of quiet about it, going about the process of picking out cups from a cupboard,
Mm-hmm.
setting them on the coffee table, which, again, everything in this place looks old but loved.
Yeah.
Old but very well taken care of and restored. But there are several, like, cup rings on this coffee table.
Mm-hmm.
There's probably a chipped corner or two. It's been through some shit.
Yeah.
Um, and he'll also, from the same cupboard he gets the cups out of, he will set down a box of cookies.
Fascinating. Excellent cookies. Matthias is again just kind of waiting, because it's polite. I'm sorry to say he is not going to like. He's a very quiet boy.
Hey, quiet is valid. So
Yeah.
we can just have quiet time as,
Yep.
tea is brewed. It is, I will note, it smells very autumnal spicy.
Okay.
Like, this smells like Michael's at Halloween.
Yeah. Okay.
Because it's a chai tea.
Awesome.
Uh, and he will, brew that, pour it in the two different cups, set the kettle on like a little platform to keep it warm but keep it from burning the table.
Mm-hmm.
And he will take a seat on one of the couches.
All right. Matthias will. Uh, he's he's going. He'll take like a cup. Is a cup being offered, or is it more just like pour your own cup?
He will. A cup was poured for him, and
Okay.
Memoir will pick it up and offer it to him on his way past.
Okay. So he will take the cup. and he still won't sit. I'm sorry. He's it's been like not quite 2 weeks. It takes time. But
Mm-hmm.
he takes the cup and uh gives a test to see if it's, drinkable yet. And other than that, he does not sit. He's he's watching and kind of like, you get the feeling he's just like taking in as much of the barn as he can. And like also you.
Mm-hmm.
Uh he's I mean, his passive is 24. I don't know what else to tell you here. Like,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
he's observant. He's a very observant lad. This is what him do.
He do great, and we appreciate him.
Yeah.
Let me think of what I can give you.
You
Well,
don't
for start,
I was gonna say, you don't even need to give anything, but if you want, you can.
I'll give a little bit with
Okay.
your passive of 20 fucking 4. Jesus Christ on a bicycle, Matthias. Um, so as you're looking around, you can see a couple different things. Like for example, you can see that you look up and you kind of catch sight of the lanterns hanging over the nest area near the hayloft, and you can kind of determine, oh, there's a space up there. Um, there is something up there. You can't really kind of see the nest itself, but you know that there is something.
Mm-hmm.
You also can, like, if your eyes kind of swoop over the rafters, you can find bits and pieces, bits and bobs of machinery that are basically stuff like hand operated cranks and pulleys to uh, open the side doors or close the side doors from anywhere in the barn.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you can see a couple different work areas. Like there's a work area for what looks like glass blowing projects, and for what looks like antique restoration, and what looks like jewelry making.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, and then looking over at Memoir himself, one thing is very, very obvious.
Mm-hmm.
He's kind of a mess right now.
Mm-hmm.
Like, when I say kind of a mess, I mean, haven't brushed my hair in 3 days, haven't changed clothes in 3 days, barely taken a shower, not really eating anything. He's going through it.
Mm-hmm.
He's kind of a disaster area right now, but he's trying his best to be friendly and welcoming.
Oh yeah.
And he is equally trying to study you as much as you are trying to study him.
Mm-hmm. Well, the good news for Memoir is Matthias is a pretty open book. I mean, he's got negative charisma. Just like, there you go.
Bless him.
Yeah. He still has
Bless this sweet child.
he still has deception. Like, he has a +3. But oh, it would be a +4 if it weren't for his negative. He's brain. Uh he's a bit of an open book. And everything about him is just screaming, unsure, nervous, expectant, hopeful, anxious, anxious, anxious.
Oh, bless him.
And he's waiting. He's expectant. He's waiting. He's waiting to be prompted. I'm so sorry.
Memoir doesn't really know what to do with that because he doesn't tell people what to do.
Yeah.
His whole thing is, he'll poke around on his own. He'll wait to see how other people react,
Mm-hmm.
but he doesn't instruct.
Well, I will give you that Matthias had stated he was here because he was told Memoir could give him answers, so he clearly
hmm
has questions.
And Memoir had told him, I will try my best to help you with whatever questions you have. I can't promise 100% satisfying answers, but I do have a bit of magic
Right.
that helps me get
Yeah.
something.
So, oh, that was the follow-up that I had wanted to mention and then forgot.
You were so valid.
No, it's
Mood.
okay. My brain just died because Matthias was going to be like, you might have a little bit of trouble finding things in regard to me. um, and I think, actually, while the tea was brewing, I think he would have mentioned that of just like, you might, finding information about or relating to me is, you might find that's a bit harder than you think.
Trust me, I'm fully aware of that kind of thing. He kind of laughs and smiles and says, I mean, personally, there's not much record of myself either. But then, I have the excuse of only being here about 2 years.
Well, that's about as far back as I can remember, so that's, well, uh, he kind of just like awkwardly scrubs at the back of his neck.
Memoir will, jokingly raise his cup of tea, like, oh, cheers.
Mm-hmm. Uh, he kind of awkwardly smiles, but he's just, what I meant is, divination magic doesn't work on me. So any attempts to learn anything about me are a bit of a brick wall there.
Interesting. Okay, that's. Well, thankfully, what I do doesn't exactly count as divination.
He raises his eyebrow.
Memoir kind of smiles and he will wink and he just uh, gestures kind of openly at the seating area. And, it could be interpreted as a gesture to take a seat if you want to, because we're going to be here a while.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but it's more just sort of open gesturing with his hands. And he says, ask me your questions and I will attempt to answer.
Um. All right. Well, I was told you could maybe tell me a little bit about this. And he goes into his pocket, like his little hoodie snack pouch, and
I love that it's called that. I'm sorry.
I mean, what else do you keep in there but snacks?
I always used it as a hand warmer.
Also fair. But he goes into the snack pouch and he pulls out a pocket watch, very similar to what Memoir has around his neck. Um, except, well, this one is a little more not fancy. It's got a little bit more to it, but he pulls it out and he doesn't offer it to Memoir, but he does hold it out so Memoir can see. I was told you could maybe give me some answers about this.
You warlock then?
No, actually.
Oh,
I'm a cleric.
all right. Interesting.
You get a head
That's
tilt.
a new one.
So you recognize this then?
Hard not to recognize the only thing you've ever had in your entire life.
He nods at that, but like, and his eyes, do flicker to the watch on Memoir's neck, but like,
And Memoir will kind of nod and hold up his own.
mm-hmm.
And interestingly, where Matthias's watch has a sort of symbol that looks a bit like an hourglass etched into the lid, Memoir's is completely blank.
Mm-hmm.
And you kind of catch sight of the back as he turns it over, and there's no name there either.
Mm-hmm.
Yours has a name and date inscribed on it. His does not.
Yeah. Okay.
It is completely blank. And he kind of says, well, I know a couple things about how they work, but what do you want to know?
Uh, well, I mean, anything you can give me, really. I mean, I'm a cleric, and I don't even know who to, and I have this, and it's the only thing I know, and no one else recognizes it. You're really my only lead here.
I can tell you who my patron is, or rather, what my patron is.
You get a head tilt.
I am not patron. I am not a warlock to a specific person, but to a specific place. I am a warlock of Memory Lane, the plane of memory.
He kind of blinks at that. Would you say that would that like feel familiar, or would that be like, or would that hit as a no, that's not right kind of deal for him?
How do I put this? Both.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the name rings a bell. It rings a really fucking loud bell.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not the right bell.
Gotcha.
It's, for example, if Matthias was looking for maybe where he came from,
That would be, yeah.
it rings the same as the bell that would signify this is your hometown.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So,
But that is not your god.
okay. So, you meant Memoir mentions Memory Lane, and he does kind of sit up a bit, like he perks up, and he does kind of that. That sounds familiar. What is Memory Lane?
Like I said, plane of memory. It's not accessible from this world, but it can intersect with this world. And please know that this is all highly interpretive. From what I feel of it, it is between all worlds. It is where everything goes when it's done. Where everything comes from when it comes back before it's finished.
He's doing a big think about that. And he kind of stares down at his watch. So then who's the god of Memory Lane?
Memoir originally goes to shake his head and kind of mouths the words I don't know, but then pauses and frowns, and he runs his thumb along the edge of his watch and holds up a finger of 1 moment.
Okay.
And he is going to use his Pact of the Times.
Mm-hmm.
I need to roll a history check.
Oh boy!
Come on, load. Jesus Christ on a bicycle. The pattern continues. I yell at it to load and it gives me a nat 20.
Hey.
He runs his thumb along the edge of his watch and then presses down on the button at the top and looks at you and say, ask that question again.
Who is the god of Memory Lane?
And when he pressed the button at the top of his watch, the lid clicked open, and inside there is no mechanics. There is just a bright, glowing gold,
Mm-hmm.
almost white, but shimmering with gold at the edges, and it swirls. And Memoir looks into it and shuts his eyes and snaps the watch shut and goes, "Okay, that's a doozy." Oh, that
Are
that hit hard. Ow.
are you all right? Do you need uh? He kind of like offers a hand, and it glows in a, I would say, almost a faintly familiar golden light.
And Memoir will offer like his best attempt at a reassuring smile while, just casually his nose starts to drip with blood.
I uh, do.
It's it's like bright gold liquid dripping down
Yep.
from his nose, and he grabs a handkerchief from his pocket and shoves it against the flow and is just, "I'm all right. I'm all right. Sorry, some information is deeper down than the rest."
You get a press X to doubt. Nervous boy.
But trust me, this is nothing. You should see what happens when I try and access my hammer space from another universe. Anyway,
What?
very
That's a
foolish
lot.
decision. Very foolish decision on my part. Don't do it. It's not good for your health. But I did make Gregory happy, so that I count that as a win. And he will sniffle, pull the handkerchief away from his nose. It's still got blood on it, but it's fine. And he kind of sits back against the pillows and says, "Well, I have an answer for you."
You do.
Mm. There is no god of Memory Lane, but there is a goddess. She is not its mistress, but its partner, its other half, its voice. Her name is Lady Retrospect, and it is she who rules over and tends to the needs of Memory Lane. And that, he will kind of point at Matthias's watch and specifically at the hourglass emblem on it. That is her symbol.
He hears the name Lady Retrospect, and his grip on the watch tightens. Uh and there's it's disbelief and relief, and he kind of like he's looking at Memoir, and he's just, "Are you're positive that's Lady Retrospect, right?"
Mm.
uh and there he kind of sags a little, as you get the feeling that this has been something that's plagued him for a very long time. And he has finally put a name to something he's wanted to know for, well, apparently 2 years now.
Mm-hmm.
Well, a little over 2 years, but yeah.
Yep.
Yup. And he's kind of having a moment. It's fine.
You alright?
Uh, I never knew her name until I mean, what kind of cleric never doesn't know the god they serve?
Well, given what I learned, given what He kind of taps his watch. This told me. The kind of cleric whose god intentionally erased her name.
What? Why would? But why would she do that?
And Memoir kind of like puts his you know that like gesture where like you pinch the bridge of your nose, but you're
Uh-huh.
not doing it because you're frustrated. You're doing it because you're trying to think.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you can kind of tell that getting this information may be giving him a little bit of a headache. It's fine. And he kind of thinks and focuses, and she's not a goddess with many followers. In fact, I don't think she has a specific. She doesn't have a following. She interferes, but she doesn't have. She doesn't ask people to follow her. She interferes on her own merit. Or of her own volition. Something like that. And something about. And here he does, like, kind of wrinkle his eyebrows, and he's having to focus very hard to get this. Something about. Well, she's not dead, but it's calling her a dead goddess. But she's decidedly not dead, it's also telling me that. Stopped being followed after some sort of fall. And he will his nose will start bleeding again, and he'll
I,
raise the handkerchief up and just damn it.
if it's too much, it's all right. You don't. I'm sorry. You don't need to.
It's quite all right. You don't need to apologize. I offered to help, and I'm helping. And he kind of like he does still have to hold the handkerchief over his nose because okay, that one. I'm gonna be real. He wasn't supposed to be able to get that answer, but he
Whoops.
nat 20'd.
Whoopsies.
The dice knew what they wanted, and apparently what they wanted was to give the bird a migraine.
Mm-hmm.
And he will try to smile and just sorry, it's a bit dramatic, but does that help any?
I. Well, I mean, you gave me a name. That's more than I've had. I. And he kind of is thinking, because when Memoir had mentioned she only really intervenes of her own volition, there's. I wouldn't call it bitter, but there is sort of a resigned that explains it look on his face.
Memoir will tilt his head and say, Penny for your thoughts?
I, um, I, I, I just recently came here. Miss, no, Lynn and Gregory are, letting me stay. I was,
Sounds like them.
I was, rescued from a vampire ring.
Mm-hmm.
And, and
You're wondering what sort of god would let her follower go through that.
he he kind of squeezes on his pocket watch and hunkers down on himself a little bit, like shamefully, like He doesn't want to admit that. He doesn't want to admit he's thought that before.
It's okay. It's not a bad question to ask. When things are unfair, looking to those who are in power and thinking, why didn't you help me? It's a valid question.
Master Keys would often ask and say if she existed, then she'd help me. He called me crazy a lot.
That's incredibly cruel. And I'm sorry you had to go through that. It wasn't fair. It wasn't right.
He kind of just, like, shrugs a shoulder, like, it's what happened, you know?
And Memoir will nod at that, because, yeah, he knows that feeling. I can't pretend to know the motivations of gods. I know what I've been told, and I'm afraid looking deeper on that specific subject might be something I have to hold off on, at least for today. But I can tell you, when I say she interferes of her own volition, it's more of her interference is highly circumstantial.
He kind of tilts his head at that one.
Again, keep in mind, very fragmentary information. I'm doing my best to interpret. And he kind of laughs and holds up his hands in a sort of "I'm doing my best" type way.
Matthias can only just, like, I mean, I've only got fragments as well, so it's all right.
We do our best with the information we can get, but from what I can understand, because there's a lot, but it's jumbled. From what I can understand, she interferes to prevent undue endings, disasters, things stopping before they're finished. If you weren't in danger of breaking, if you weren't in danger of being stopped before someone could come after you, someone could help you, she would have put you in a situation where you could have been safe, where she had a plan. She plans for everything. And there is kind of almost a trance-like state that, or a trance-like tone that slips into his voice.
Mm-hmm.
She plans for everything. If something is unfair, it is because she has justice lined up for it. If one of her own is trapped, then it is because she has plans to give them a way out. She doesn't abide by stagnation. She doesn't abide by unsatisfying endings.
Matthias kind of ducks his head. He's thinking. Because, well, that all does track with what happened. He did, in fact, get rescued, and Keys was, in fact, reduced to ash, even if he doesn't quite believe it yet.
Mm-hmm.
But he does know that his grip on Keys's grip on the city of Everstead is gone, so he's if he's not dead, he's been dealt a
catastrophic fucking blow.
yeah. So it's he kind of like it. It does kind of ease his mind a little to know that like, which is some might find it odd, but no, this all feels right. This all of this information feels correct, and it does kind of ease his mind to know that this it it hurts that he was put in that situation, but to know that, you know, he there was a plan had been made, and that basically he was found because she wanted him to be found.
Mm-hmm. And Memoir will kind of shake his head, and the gold glow that was starting to accumulate around his eyes will fade. And he kind of blinks and says, "Sorry, what was I saying?"
Uh he'll just kind of like give the brief that Lady Retrospect plans for a lot of things, everything, and does
Sounds like a deity.
does it was a lot, but it made sense.
I'm glad I could help at least a little. Are there other questions you need answered? I can do my best.
uh he kind of thinks a minute. You had said that she was dead, not dead?
Yeah, I don't exactly know what that means. When I ask questions of the universal memory, it gives me information, but it doesn't explain it.
Ah,
Um, Essentially, she's alive, from what I can tell, but any following she might have had is long gone.
he kind of frowns at that one.
Well, present company excluded, apparently.
That's the frown is very confused. Cause I that doesn't make sense. Cause I and he looks again down at his pocket watch. I don't remember anything before before I woke up.
Did you wake up?
Where or when?
Where?
Uh, it was uh in a little town in Faruma. I woke up in a box in an alley, tumbled out, and crashed into some poor inn owner. Offered me a place to stay.
Memoir will, like, do his best. You know, I'm gonna roll deception.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to try and hide his, instinct to giggle at the mental image of this boy in a box.
Boy in a box.
Listen, sense of humor carries.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a 10.
Yeah, I was gonna say, to be fair, Matthias also is he kind of like, his lip does curl up a little, like he recognizes it's funny.
Memoir will, like, he's trying to, politely cover his mouth with his hand, but you can see the smile.
Mm-hmm. And he kind of like but that was, oh gosh, 2 years and 3-4 months ago.
Long time.
Yeah. he gives an exact date. Well, he could give an exact date. And it memoir it does kind of line up with it's pretty close to when you woke up.
And he kind of laughs and says, "That's funny. That's only a few hours after when I first showed up."
that's that's the last thing I remember. So then he kind of frowns at that, and he thinks a moment, and he just, I wonder if something happened then.
It's possible.
If that might, because I don't remember anything prior to waking up to that. I just got, well, fragment. The only thing I knew was, well, that the watch was important, and it that I followed somebody, and I was a healer, and my name. That's it.
That's not much to go on, is it?
No. Makes easy pickings for a lot of people.
Mm. I know the feeling. And he kind of his hand will leave the watch and fiddle with his other necklace,
Mm-hmm.
running his thumb over the black ribbon and then fiddling with the silver ring.
Yeah.
And he kind of looks at Matthias and, "How are you holding up?"
Huh?
"Oh. You said you were recently rescued. How are you doing?"
I'm. I. I. Okay. He kind of like. He has finally sat down, and it's very compact. Boy can compact. And his knees kind of like, he was perched on the couch, and his knees kind of draw up. A little defensive. I mean, I'm doing all right. Lynn and Gregory, I got a place to sleep, and they let me stay there. He is, he is flashing back to the conversations he had with Decimal, and he is fidgeting.
Memoir's not going to say anything.
Yeah.
He just kind of tilts his head and listens.
And, he, I mean, I guess I'm doing okay. I don't, I don't know. Uh, Decimal was right. Freedom's terrifying.
Decimal tends to be right about many things.
Yeah.
I'm loath to admit it to his face, but he's a smart dude.
He, he, he said he would talk with Lynn to help her help me better, but I don't. He just kind of shrugs. I just don't know what to do.
Sense.
I I guess I
Sorry, did my voice cut off?
yes.
Uh, He asked in what sense.
Oh, in what sense? It it's like they're waiting for something to happen.
Mm.
And that thing is what's gonna be, I don't know, like the catalyst that helps. I don't know what they're waiting for, but they're waiting for something. And if I knew, I'd do it. They're and he kind of like scrunches in on himself a bit more. They're trying to help, and I want them to be able to help, but I don't know how. And it all just doesn't. I don't know.
And Memoir will kind of set down his cup of tea and just, Matthias, you can roll insight if you'd like.
I like this number.
What is your insight?
A +9.
Jesus Christ on a bike. That is a lot.
Yeah, he had to learn to read people. That's a 22.
You mentioned this feeling of knowing someone is waiting for something,
Mm-hmm.
but not knowing what is being waited for. And there's just a very strong moment of understanding from
Oh.
Memoir.
Oh.
It's not the same situation. You can tell that much, but
Mm-hmm.
you know, I can tell you because you as the player know this,
Yep.
and you can figure out how Matthias would interpret it and get this information. Memoir has his countdown clock,
Yep.
and it's constantly counting down to something, waiting for something, but he doesn't know what that something is. He
Mm-hmm.
never knows what the something is. He never knows if he has to be afraid of it, if he has to be excited for it, if he
Yeah.
has to be prepared for it.
Yeah.
He just knows that something is coming and he doesn't know what.
Mm-hmm.
So when Matthias explains, they're waiting for something and I don't know what, and, unspoken, that makes me uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Memoir's just like, oh, honey.
Yeah.
It's just that moment of, oh, I get that, and oh, Jesus Christ, that sucks.
Yeah. And there's anxiety rising in his voice, but like with Memoir kind of having the, oh, I get that, he does kind of like, he doesn't relax, but it eases a little bit. And he kind of, because he shared with Decimal and nothing bad happened. So he, he just kind of like, again, he kind of like runs a hand over the watch, kind of fiddles with it. Uh, I they they're trying to help, and it's they're trying. Decimal was right in that they they didn't know how, but he said he'd talk with Lynn. Uh, I don't I don't know if he's done that yet, but it's he just kind of worries on his lip. It's doesn't feel like helping.
Feels like expectation.
Yeah.
Building dread.
Yeah.
Yeah. That feeling is the worst. And you know what's coming. You can prepare for it, but when you don't know, feels like the world is crashing down. Or worse, like something's waiting to pull the rug out from underneath you. The floor's about to fall out from under your feet. And there's a way you could stop it, but you have no idea what that way is.
Yeah. There's a right answer, and I don't know what the right answer is. And I just gotta hope I figure it out before they get mad. And then he kind of winces because he part of him knows that rationally that's not how it works, but also, yeah.
And Memoir will nod and say, "Yep, trying to find the answer before the disaster falls."
He nods.
Sorry, that's not a pleasant feeling to have.
Yeah, yeah.
Want me to try and help you?
He kind of tilts his head.
I'm not the best at. He kind of gestures. Emotions, when I'm upset or when I'm emotionally wibbly wobbly, and he kind of, gestures with his hands
Mm-hmm.
to indicate wibbly wobbly.
Yes.
I don't. I either discuss it with my therapist or I throw myself into work and I talk to my projects. And through talking to my projects, I talk out what my feelings are. I'm not great at emotions, but I am decent at unraveling other people's motivations. If you like, I know Craigery and I know Lynn. If you tell me a bit of what's been going on, if you'd like, I could try and determine what they're waiting for.
Uh, I, I, I don't. They.
It's also okay if you don't want to know.
I don't. That's the thing. I don't. I just don't know. They. They walk on eggshells and they. They give me choices, but I don't. I don't know what to pick, and I. It. And he runs a hand through his hair, and I'm actually gonna just really quick. Okay, you're doing okay. Uh, he he runs a hand through his hair, and it's a very like practiced motion that even with the thick braid, he can like he gets his fingers through it. Like, uh, I. eh, They want me to. They. It, they say that it's okay for me to do whatever I want to do, but there's clearly something they expect, and I just don't know what that is. And
There's a something to want, but you don't know what they want you to want, so you don't know what to want at all.
he nods, and it doesn't feel honest when I do choose when I'm able to, because then they always smile like they're so proud that I did that, but it's not. I don't know. And he swipes a hand at his eyes.
Memoir will kind of um, nod and kind of press his hand over his mouth and think. Think.
Mm-hmm.
Could be hyper awareness of the situation. Could be. I mean, I know Lynn. I know the investigator. And I know Craigery. Lynn is hypervigilant. She tries to have a plan for everything, and she works in a field similar to dealing with people in similar situations to what you were saved from. She's a detective, and most people within the mystery genre, they have their specialties. Mine is murder, hers is trafficking.
He kind of blinks at that. He didn't know that.
And Memoir nods and just. Lynn is building off of experience. Prior experience with people in similar situations. Walking on eggshells may be in respect to your own mental state. They don't want to hurt you further than you've already been hurt. Because you have been hurt a lot. Assumably. I don't mean to assume things about your situation, sorry.
It, it's all right.
But she has seen a lot of people who have been through similar situations to you, and a lot of the time her manner of dealing with things, from what I know of her, she sets people up with the right connections. She is the weaver of the webs. She knows a lot of people and knows who to send to who to get help, but she's now trying to be all of the people that she could send you to if you were someone from one of her cases.
He kind of nods. He's thinking. He kind of thinks about that, and
She wants to help you heal, but I think, from what I understand, and again, this is all speculative. I don't know everything about my friends, obviously. But from what I understand, this is sort of the first time she's had to interact with someone who's been in captivity for longer than they were ever out of it. She's expecting you to react like what she knows, and not recognizing that there's a missed step in there. Perhaps what she's waiting for is the moment it clicks for you that you are free, or the moment it clicks for you what that means, which, I'm sorry, I wouldn't know.
he's just kind of he kind of listens, and I mean, and he starts to say, because he starts with, I mean, I know and then he stops and he kind of he doesn't think, but he just gets kind of quiet because I mean he part of him does recognize that he is freer than he was, but he doesn't think that he doesn't believe he's able to relax yet. He's waiting for, and if Memoir wants to roll insight to see if maybe he can pick this up, but
Fully.
yeah, he's waiting for basically the other shoe to drop for, you know, his worries and fears of how his worries and fears of I'm not actually free, I just changed owners. Uh he's waiting for, his fears, his nightmares that Keys comes back to actually be true. It's there's a lot of like there's a lot of potential things of just like this is all too good to be true. This is a dream kind of deal. Like this is temporary basically. So while Lynn and Gregory seem to be waiting for something, he's equally waiting for something, just in the opposite
Mhm.
direction.
They're waiting for him to realize he's free. He's waiting for it to be revealed that he isn't.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, honey.
Yup.
Hmm.
He doesn't know how to word that.
Okay. Memoir's going to tilt his head,
Mm-hmm.
and he's going to look at Matthias and say, I can ask two more questions. What was the name of your previous master?
Uh, Michael Keys.
And Memoir will fing like his fingers run around the edge of his watch again, similar to how it was before he popped it open the first time.
Mm-hmm.
And he looks at Matthias. Would you like to know what has become of him? For certain.
There is there's a hesitance because at first it's oh god no I don't, like oh god no, but then eventually he has basically a little war with himself, and then he eventually exhales and then he says, yes, if he's still out there, then I can warn them, and we can I can do something, or I can be prepared.
All right. And rolling off of the three questions he gets to ask with that nat 20 history check,
Mm-hmm.
he will click the watch open again and he will look into that glowing light and he will ask, what has become of Michael Keyes?
And Memoir gets essentially the playback of that fight where Keys is retreating, and then he is hit with Matthias's dawn. And what, well, nobody really got to see because it was daylight, it was blinding daylight in the middle of the night, uh, was that mist that was Keys uh, basically reduced. I mean, it dissolves uh, into nothing.
Question.
Mm-hmm.
So, there's actually, with this mechanic, a specific. I haven't used this yet, but there's a specific way to tell someone is dead.
Mm-hmm.
Because the last thing in the information you're given will be the mental image of a golden ticket, a golden train ticket,
Mm-hmm.
and a hole being punched in it.
Mm-hmm.
Does the ticket get punched?
Yes.
And Memoir will take a deep breath, click shut the watch, and he will hold out a hand to Matthias.
Uh, Matthias actually hesitates and looks at Memoir like,
I think it's better if you see it for yourself.
and he'll hesitantly reach out a hand.
And Memoir will slowly, carefully establish an echo connection with Matthias.
Mm-hmm.
Um, does Matthias have any reaction to that?
Let's find out. How you gonna handle that, buddy? Cool, not great.
Oh, honey.
That's a 2 on the dice. So he likely already keyed up from not from, well, touch. Yeah, I think it would be less that he's not prepared for it, and more he accidentally might bombard Memoir.
That's okay. What am I getting?
Uh, a lot. A lot. You know, the oh honey. He's he's like he's nervous. He's nervous. He's kind of like fidgety. Oh, no, he's not nervous. He's terrified. He's fucking terrified. Uh he had hesitated reaching his hand out. His like your skin is crawling. It like oversensitive. And there's just so much. It's a lot. And
One moment.
yep.
Okay, that's a 14. That's not bad.
And it's just Matthias was entirely unprepared for what was happening, and so he's like everything is going on in his head, and he's trying to kind of he's he's more focused on the outward appearance than keeping his own damn head calm. So,
I get that.
Yeah.
And Memoir will like pause, take a deep breath. And there is kind of that mental message from him as well towards Matthias of just sending sort of calming feelings as best he can.
Gotcha.
Calming, grounding sensations, which from Memoir feel like rain falling against your skin, feel like wind under your fingertips, feel like steady ground under your feet, etc.
Mm-hmm. And I think when Matthias feels that, that's when he finally has like that startled like what, and like I would say he springs back. But he's on the couch, so he just kind of like jolts in place like what are you?
Sorry, I should probably explain that. I always forget to. I'm a telepath. Or sort of. I'm a touch telepath. I speak the language Echo, the native tongue of Memory Lane.
Okay.
It's a language communicated through memory and through sensation.
Oh, and he kind of goes a little pale, like,
Don't worry, yours isn't even the worst reaction I've gotten.
I, okay. Sorry, still. Uh,
Perfectly all right. And I will note, you can feel he is being 100%
yep,
genuine. He
yep,
does not mind. He had to
which,
take a minute to ground himself,
yep,
but he got over a 10, so he's fine.
he's fine. Matthias is still reeling, and yeah, there is and again, Memoir, now that you have this, you get all of the the immediates of like the the surprise, and then the realization, the fear of retaliation, the fear of punishment, uh, depending on how long you let Matthias kind of not necessarily spiral, you might get sensations, but
Mm-hmm. Memoir isn't gonna let him, spiral into panic. It's more of just, there's the fear of retaliation that you mentioned, and it's just, nope, that's not gonna happen.
yeah, like it shuts it
There's
down
just a
before
sol
anything. Yeah,
there's just a solid but gentle, just no, that's not going to happen. Everything's okay.
and that's when you get confusion, but like accept like immediate like all right, you said that, and okay, like maybe not belief but acceptance of yeah.
And Memoir will kind of smile at him and say, "You're new to this. I don't expect you to get it right away. And even if you weren't, it can be hard to school one's own thoughts.
uh,
The mind is the last truly free place that we have. Don't let anyone take it from you."
yeah, yeah. uh
I promise I won't see anything that you don't want to show me.
he kind of nervously nods at that. Right. Okay. so,
All right.
so yeah.
Are you ready?
uh, yes.
All right. Let me know if you need me to stop.
He nods.
And Memoir will show him all of that, all
Mm-hmm.
of what he got.
And he'll uh you do see the like the spike of fear at Keys, even in this like misty form, because yeah. um
Mm-hmm.
and then confusion at the ticket.
It's
uh,
a signifier that someone's dead.
there's a pause, and you are immediately hit with disbelief, and he's kind of reeling. He I I I killed him. I he I didn't. I I what I didn't mean to. I just I didn't want him to get away. He's starting to shake.
Um, hmm. Touch probably isn't the best thing right now.
Yeah.
And Memoir can recognize that. Um, I will note around you the sound of ticking clockwork and falling rain that's kind of the ambient background noise of this place seems to get a little stronger.
Mm-hmm.
And Memoir will like pull his hand away from Matthias's, not like fast, like he's been burned or anything, just
Yeah.
carefully backing up, giving Matthias his space,
Yep.
letting him process the shit.
Yep. He gets his hand back, and it immediately he curls in on himself, and is it, it's yeah. He's not. He didn't think that that's again. He didn't believe, and now he sees, and it's
Irrefutable proof.
yep. He's given irrefutable proof, and he's gone, and he did it, and oh, he didn't mean to. He'd never, he wasn't supposed to raise a hand against him. He was uh and just all of the everything that had kind of been hammered into him, that he had in that panic moment kind of desperately ignored, and it resulted in this, and now it's the, the there he's gone, and they're gonna they they don't know who, but I uh, and let me just see if he can, how long it takes this poor boy to calm down. Oh, okay, cool. um we nat 20'd that. Okay, cool. uh he's 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 actively, like, Memoir, you can very clearly tell he is in rapidly at panic attack,
Mm-hmm.
and he's curled in on himself, and he's kind of like he's breathing hard, and excuse me, as the sound of the rain and the ticking clocks gets louder and louder, you notice his breathing is starting to sync up to the clock.
Memoir just, oh, hey, same.
Yeah. It's
He's used
unintentional.
that trick.
Yeah. it's it's not great, because that's still pretty fast for breathing, but
Mm-hmm. But
uh
it's not gonna make him pass out.
yeah, but his breathing has synced up to the clocks, just because it's a sound that he didn't know he would find comfort in, but that he's finding comfort in. um and it's a repetitive sound that he can focus on. He's not really doing it consciously. It's more just like he's panicking, and the idle ambient ticking is kind of filling all of the blank spaces. But yeah, his breathing syncs up to the clocks, and he doesn't get he doesn't, he doesn't sink further into panic, but he is kind of panicking still. Uh
Okay. Time for Bird to roll insight because he is very much of just, oh god, what do I do
yeah,
here?
what do? Oh god, help.
Oh god, I fucked up. Hey, that's another one. Jesus.
Oof.
My boy is doing good on insight today.
Oof. All right.
He's just like, oh God, what do I do?
What do I do? Oh no, I scared him. Uh-oh. Uh,
I was trying to help.
and you did. Just, it's a lot.
It's a lot.
You get with him syncing up like that, and you get the feeling touch isn't good. Um, you think maybe then maybe giving him just something else to focus on or to think about might help.
Else to think about, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Why is this your fucking go-to?
Let's do it. What are we doing?
Memoir will kind of look at him and say, hey, Matthias.
His head kind of jerks up after a moment.
Question for you. Very important question.
Uh, yeah, yes. What the?
It's going to require all your brain power. I need you to answer this for me, all right?
Okay. All right. Okay.
Why did the chicken cross the road?
I, I what?
Why did the chicken cross the road?
I had to and you see there's still the panic, but he looks there's confusion creeping in as he kind of starts to process just what Memoir has asked. And then he is 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 is, is that a is that a that's a joke, right? That's
No, no. Very, very serious question. And Memoir is like, doing his best to do the mock serious because he is still a toon.
mm-hmm.
You tell him to distract someone, he's gonna try and do a bit.
Yeah. Uh and I mean, true to it requires all of your brain power. Matthias is thinking about it. Cuz that he was told to think about it and he's thinking about it and he's just that that I, I mean there's a lot of there's a lot of factors that I mean I I don't I don't I don't I, I don't know.
Memoir will nod and will say, "True, true. Without all the factors, we can't possibly think as to the motivations of chickens. They are unknowable and mysterious creatures. Let me think. Perhaps there's corn on the other side of the road. Do you think there's corn on the other side of the road, Matthias?"
I what I mean maybe I if that's the case then it would be to get the corn, but I it could I mean it could also be running from some
It could, it could. Perhaps there's a fox on the other side of the road.
and he nods. I mean, yeah, it could be running from, or it could be going to. It's there's you I
There's a multitude of reasons a chicken might cross the road.
yes. The confusion is getting bigger and bigger.
The ultimate reason that anyone might cross any road would be to get to the other side, in one way or another.
And yes, I he's just he's still kind of like high key panicked, but it's there's confusion now. Like I don't understand.
Doing best, he's just trying to be distracting.
I know, and it worked. he's just like, I don't, I don't understand what that has to do with anything that I
Nothing.
what?
Absolutely nothing at all.
But what? Well, then why was it so important to know?
Well, it's important to know why things are done.
He he kind of just is like, he's kind of a little dumbfounded. He's just like, I
This is what this bird does
I
when
know.
he's
I
when he's
know.
trying to mess with someone. He acts incredibly genuine. When he's trying to distract someone, he does the same thing. He's incredibly genuine on bullshit.
And I love him.
And he kind of nods and says, you're right. It isn't relevant to the topic of conversation at hand. What would be relevant to the topic of conversation at hand? What is another incredibly important question? Ah, yes, the age-old philosophical debate. Why is a raven like a writing desk?
I what? What?
Why is a raven like a writing desk?
I I and he kind of pauses and like thinks about it. And I have an answer, but I don't know if Poe exists in this world. So, you know.
For the sake of the joke, Poe is now like Weird Al.
Hey.
And John Mulaney, he officially exists in the Toonkind universe.
Because Matthias does a big ol' ponder, and then he's just like, because Edgar Allan Poe wrote on both of them, but that.
That's actually quite clever. I've never thought of that answer.
He kind of offers like a sheepish little smile.
You are very clever. You
I,
had that answer in almost an instant. I'm very impressed.
well, I mean, and he kind of turns a little pink. He's just, tugs his sweater up a bit.
You mentioned Poe. Do you enjoy reading?
He nods. I didn't get a lot of books, but I read the ones that I could.
Did you have a favorite, or did you just enjoy the hobby as a whole?
I not necessarily a favorite, just I liked I liked to read. It passed the time.
It's a good way to pass time. Good way to slip into another world for even just a little bit.
And he kind of nods.
Can I roll off my other insight check to
Yes.
see how he's doing?
He's calming down. He's like he's still nervous, but the panic is easing. He's like his breathing has evened out, and he's still curled in on himself, but now it like he's clearly not in his head, like not lost in his head.
Mm-hmm. Which is a success in
Mm-hmm.
Memoir's
Mm-hmm.
in Memoir's humble opinion. Just, oh, thank God I didn't break him.
Yeah.
Oh, thank God I don't have to go to Lynn and be like, Lynn, help! I broke your new friend.
Lynn, help! I broke your new friend. I broke the boy.
He came to me for help and I broke him. I'm sorry. Memoir will tilt his head to the side and think and say, you know, when I was confronted with the question of why is a raven like a writing desk, I had a different answer.
He kind of tilts his head. Oh? What did? What was yours?
I can produce a few notes, but they're quite flat.
Oh, I. Oh, I see.
Your answer better, though. It sounds much more intellectual.
He kind of ducks his head at that, just. And there's a little smile.
And Memoir will smile back and take a sip of his tea.
Mm-hmm. Matthias will also sip tea.
It is a very good tea. It is
Yeah.
a very nice, warm, cozy chai.
Yeah.
And there is probably a little bit of sweetener in it.
Mm-hmm. And he'll he kind of just sits like you get the feeling he's not much like he's not used to conversation, but he just kind of sits in the quiet and he's not like put off by the quiet either though. So,
Mm-hmm. Memoir will sit with the quiet until he's ready to talk.
mhm. Um hmm. After a moment, he does kind of he seems to like think and he's just thank you for showing me that.
Of course. I hope it helps, even if it is a lot to process.
He
And
nods.
you don't have to have it all processed right away.
He nods at that.
Memoir will kind of fiddle with, not with his watch, but with, again, that silver ring on the black ribbon around his neck, and he'll
Mm-hmm.
say, it can be difficult when, even when you stand there and watch them die, it can be difficult to know, difficult to fully get it through your head that someone who caused you pain, someone who hurt you or hurt people you care about, someone who ruined your life, is dead.
He nods and he's but there's like a brief pause afterwards and he says, "I'm sorry you know what that feels like."
I am too. And I'm sorry that you have to have someone who taught you. Never a pleasant feeling.
No.
But the good thing is, once you know that they are gone and they're not coming back, they can't hurt you anymore. You know that even if you do get hurt again, it won't be by them and it won't be in their way. Does
He
that help any?
he kind of he fiddles with his hands again, uh kind of like wringing them together. And he doesn't look at Memoir when he asks, "You you really think that?"
Well, I know that you're here. I know you are friends with Lynn, who, like I said, she specializes in the area of trafficking, and therefore she knows how to keep people out of it. So if anyone tried to come after you in that regard, she would have their ass on a silver tray. I know you are familiar with Craigery, and I know that Craigery has some very personal, very deeply held beliefs about personal freedom. And I know that he would fight anyone who came for you and tried to hurt you in that way ever again. Likewise, I know you know Decimal. And Decimal is a very capable person. Quite honestly, he scares me a bit.
He kind of nods, like, yeah.
And I don't think he would let anyone come after you that way. So, even if someone were to try. Oh, and you also, have you met Kara yet?
Yeah, yes.
So, oh, and you also know Network.
He
In
nods.
fact, you're staying with Network, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines of defense. Plus, you have me. I can't promise that's always the best person to have on hand, but I do know my way around a few damaging spells.
He kind of just blinks.
And I have, my share of healing magic. I couldn't do what I do if I didn't. And he kind of waves a hand through the air, and there's a shimmer of golden light around his fingers.
Mm-hmm.
So, if anyone like Keys tried to come after you again, even if you weren't at a point where you felt as though you could defend yourself, you have people who are willing to defend you. And you have an entire town, an entire awake, sentient town who's willing to protect you as she will protect any of her own. And you have an entire house who is very protective of her own. Their own? I can never remember Network's pronouns.
Memoir, roll insight.
Well, I clicked it and it didn't change.
Ah!
So that's another nat 20.
Yay!
Memoir's apparently really good at insighting on Matthias.
I mean, to be fair, he's not hard to read. Uh, the DCs are very low. You are explaining all of this, and again, he's not been out for very long. So you explain all of this, and there is there is awe in, like, you all of these people, and then you see the immediate follow-up of, no, there it can't be, like, there's no way kind of deal. um and he doesn't argue with you, uh which might be a positive. But you can tell he doesn't quite believe that. At least for
Luckily.
some. Like, he knows, like, you mentioned Kara, and he kind of, like, he accepts Kara, and he probably accepts Network as well. Um but Lynn and Gregory and Decimal and you, he doesn't believe that.
Memoir will tilt his head, and luckily, Memoir is a lawyer.
Mm-hmm.
And so he will tilt his head and say, Would it help if I presented evidence for my case?
I, what?
You
I
don't believe me, and that's understandable. You aren't used to having people in your corner.
yeah. I will say, Memoir, with that still rolling off that insight, uh you know, very like, again, you know, you would probably be able to also pick up like trying to hammer it in now is likely not the best idea. Uh
Mm-hmm.
but
He's not necessarily thinking of trying to hammer it in so much as giving food for thought
yeah.
or giving proof of concept.
Mhm, mhm.
Like, not necessarily hammering it in that no, they're going to protect Matthias, but give proof of concept that no, that's just the kind of people these idiots are.
Okay. That would be a little more it would it I think then it would be better to explain reasoning, not necessarily provide evidence, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So, but anyway,
He just phrases it as presenting evidence because, again,
lawyer.
lawyer.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, he kind of like he's not going to say no. He just kind of like tilts his head.
You don't know lots of people around here, and so it makes sense that you wouldn't necessarily trust them to look out for you. And I'm not going to try and hammer it into you or force you to believe that they will look out for you specifically, but I can tell you of several incidents where they have helped people who they don't even know. My first day alive, my first day existing, I got accused of murder. And Lynn Stagehand, who did not know me and had every reason to believe I was guilty, because I was found in the room, hand on the body, weapon in hand, and I attacked a police official. In my defense, I was scared.
He kind of is just like, whoa, that's a lot. Yeah.
Lynn Stagehand, who had every reason to believe that I was guilty, she decided to help me defend myself. She decided to help me find the evidence that I needed to not go to jail for murder within my first 24 hours of existence. She chose to believe in my innocence and chose to defend me when even I had no idea who I was.
He kind of he's thinking that over. Like, that's a lot. He's thinking it over.
More recently, if you want reasoning to believe that Gregory Danthew is that sort of person, or Gregory Danthew Devran is that sort of person, I can give that as well. Recently, again, I was the one in danger. I have a habit of becoming a damsel in distress. Recently, I was in a situation where I was being held captive. And I was being held captive in a place where Gregory had only recently escaped from. He had every reason not to go there. He had no idea who I was. We had never met. He came anyway. He came with Lynn and with my father to help me. He faced off against the person who had hurt him the most, alongside Lynn and alongside my father and alongside Asclepius, to get me out. Because he didn't want anyone else to have to suffer the way he had.
Matthias has He's lowered his head, uh, and he's mulling all of this over, and he might look a little guilty, but he's not like stopping Memoir or anything. He's listening to all of this and taking it all in.
And to kind of complete his point, Memoir will say, and as for Decimal, well, he's never helped me personally. But there was an incident a while ago. A friend of mine was very badly hurt and had been twisted beyond its own reasoning. And we had to work together to save it, and that absolute wild card shows up out of the fucking blue and decides he's going to play hide and seek tag with this terrifying creature that could very easily hurt him, very easily kill him, to give us the time we need to help my friend.
There's
There...
Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say there's at that kind of like mention there is kind of a slight like disbelieving like kind of quirk of the lips like okay, that's
I
yep.
mean, Matthias, you can roll insight to see if he's lying.
Well, let's see. Do 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 do.
The check is literally on the floor.
Yeah, that's a 15.
Yeah, he's not lying.
Yeah.
He is telling you the honest to God truth.
Mm-hmm.
And you do kind of hear the mutter of, I still don't know why he did that. He had no reason to be there. That's chaos for you.
Which, again, that Matthias doing a think and mulling all of this over with the little he knows of everybody.
And Memoir will kind of sigh and spread his hands. Like, he's been talking with his hands this whole time.
Mm-hmm.
In another life, Memoir was part Italian.
Ha.
He talks with his hands very emphatically. He went to the fucking Rig and Arataka school of hand talking.
Mm-hmm.
And he kind of, his hand's finally still, and he puts his hand to his necklace, and I have no proof I can give for myself, but I can give you my word that if anyone were to come for you, I would try my best to help. Because I don't want anyone to suffer, and I especially don't want you to suffer because you seem nice. And maybe that's a little bit of a shallow reason. I mean, I don't have Gregory's deeply held beliefs about personal freedom. I don't have Lynn's experience. I don't have Decimal's whatever. But sometimes people are good. They're all good. I like to think I'm good. Sometimes people help because they don't want to see someone else in pain. Not because they know them personally, not because they want something out of you, but specifically because they don't want you to suffer. Because you're a person. You're a person like me or like anyone else in town.
And he kind of, that more than anything seems to hit, because well he kind of thinks the same thing. even if he never was able to really, act on that. But he understands, specifically not wanting to see other people suffer.
And after he's kind of given this slight bit of a lecture,
Yeah.
and he will notice that he's kind of gone off a bit, gushing about his friends. Memoir will kind of fall quiet, and his hands will fall into his lap, and he'll just very much the vibes of, oh, I spoke too much.
Matthias is, I mean, he's not a very talkative person he couldn't really talk for 2 years, so it makes sense. But
Mm-hmm.
he like so he's fine with the quiet. But you can also tell he listened, and he listened like he Memoir had his whole attention
Mm-hmm.
as he spoke. And it was genuine attention.
Mm-hmm.
Um and so when he kind of goes quiet, Matthias takes a sip of tea, and he he just kind of like after kind of figuring out, words, and having that little war of what say, oh God. Uh, he's got 9 charisma, man. I don't know what to tell you. Uh,
We'll leave the talking to other people when it comes to getting information out of barmaids.
mm-hmm. Matthias is pretty. That's all he's got going for him, man. Uh,
He is very pretty.
he's a very pretty man. But he just kind of, I thank you.
Memoir will nod.
And he's content to kind of let the silence just hang between them.
And Memoir will also let the silence hang for a moment, partially because he's definitely like drinking tea to soothe his throat,
Mm-hmm.
because um slight bit of context that Matthias doesn't have. Memoir has spent the last several days crying, and that trashes your throat, and
Oh
then he
yeah.
just gave, a heartfelt, impassioned speech.
Yup. About
So,
friendship.
about friendship.
Yeah.
So, he trashed his fucking throat.
Oh, Memoir, honey.
And he will kind of just be quiet and take a couple sips of tea.
Mm-hmm.
And then he will look to Matthias and say, I have one more question I can ask. Do you have anything else you want to know?
Kind of jolts because, oh right, he forgot that there were questions. And he thinks, oh honey, do you really want to know that? Oh.
Oh?
Uh, his immediate final question after thinking a moment is, who was I?
I mean, it's up to you if you want to have him ask that, Hex.
I.
Because Because you'd have to tell me.
Oh hell. Uh. Uh. Heck. Um.
Still working off of that nat 20.
Yeah. Uh. I think. Oh God.
You don't have to have him ask it if you don't want to reveal that or you don't want to give him that information.
It's the problem is it's that's what he would ask. But I gotta let me think if there's anything else he would. Um. Hell.
God, and I can't even use the excuse that Retro would have redacted this information because of Benmore's connection to Retro. Oh no.
Oh no. Hell.
He has access to her redacted records. That's not
Matthias,
normal for any retrospect warlock. Oh god.
yeah. Here's a question. Would Retro intervene if this particular bit was getting accessed?
Hmm. Huh. That is a good question. That is a very good question. Hey, what do
Because
clerics roll for divine intervention?
it's a percentile.
Okay, how does that percentile work again?
So it's, let me double check. You roll a percentile if it is your level or lower, the intervene works.
Level or lower, the
Yeah,
intervene works.
roll.
And
You can call for
percentile, is
a.
that a D100?
You roll both a D10 and a D100.
Okay.
So you call for aid from your deity, succeeding if you make a percentile roll less than or equal to your cleric level.
Okay.
So it is a very small number.
Yeah, yeah, it is.
Uh, if there's a greater chance of retro intervening, then I mean,
Okay. Hmm. We've accidentally
uh-oh.
we accidentally opened a can of worms.
Yeah. I I would say it probably would make sense just because of things for retro to be like, no, no, not that one. But you are the one who owns retro, so
I am the one who owns Retro, but I am also your friend, and you clearly do not want to give him this information yet.
not yet. But we can build up to something's up with the boy.
We can, and I like giving foreshadowing.
So,
Here's my question though,
mm-hmm,
because we've been going for
2 hours and 14 minutes.
a while.
Yeah.
Would you have the energy to have Matthias have a conversation with Retro? Because she will stick around for a conversation if she momentarily possesses Memoir to say, nope, can't give
Uh,
you that one.
Unfortunately, I have to do work after this. So, as much as I would
Yeah.
like for that, I think a brief no, no, shut that down would be probably the, and retro realizing now is not the time for this either. Like,
Mm-hmm,
a lot
mm-hmm.
has happened to this poor boy. He needs time.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Okay. Okay. I think I know what I can do
Hey.
as interference. So you can have him ask.
Okay. So then, yeah, he thinks a moment and uh he looks at, he eventually will look at Memoir and he just kind of has the uh it sounds a little more sad than he probably intends, but he just kind of asks, "Who was I before?"
And Memoir will open the watch and he will ask, who was Matthias Oleand?
Mm-hmm.
There's a moment where the information starts to come,
Yep.
where he can feel. Because when he's doing this, it's very similar to when he's going through a library and perusing books by scanning the titles with his fingers and reading their echo signatures.
Mm-hmm.
He can feel this flow of information, this universal memory that he can scan through under his hands. And then, and from the outside, what this looks like is his eyes go from this bright, vivid peridot green to um, gold and white rings.
Mm-hmm.
And he's going through and he's trying to find this information, and then he freezes.
Mm-hmm.
and for a split second, his eyes go dark. Just completely black, and he shuts them quickly. And he drops the watch, and it swings from its chain and bounces against his chest. And he sucks in a deep breath, and I'm not allowed to know that.
What? What?
I Hmm. uh, okay. Yep. Message taken. Not going to. I'm
Memoir?
sorry.
What happened?
I I went to look for that answer, and it's there. I could have it, theoretically, but something, my assumption is your goddess, doesn't want me to know. It's and that golden glow comes to his eyes again as he opens them. But there's almost a different tone to it, and his voice shifts. It's not time for that yet. You'll know in time, but now isn't right.
And he sits ramrod straight. And then and it's there's he takes a stuttering breath in because oh he knows what he knows that.
He knows that voice.
Yeah.
It's not the same. It's not the same bright and cheery, bubbly way he's used to hearing it because it comes from Memoir's throat rather than
Mm-hmm.
from her own. But he's heard that voice in his dreams.
Yeah. And his own grip or his grip on his own pocket watch is it's very tight as he's just I mean he just kind of sits there uh and he's I right right, oh, I see.
And those eyes, which were kind of staring unfocusedly into the middle distance, slide up and meet his. And there's a soft smile and just, not right now. But that doesn't mean never.
He'll nod. He nods at that.
You're doing great, Sunshine. And then Memoir will very quickly shut his eyes and his face falls and he kind of collapses against the pillows because, oh, that was a lot. Ow.
Let me just yep, okay, cool. Matthias is not shocked to not react, so he does kind of Memoir, are you do you what do you need?
Uh, you can roll medicine if you want.
Hey, we like that number too. That's a 23.
Damn. Okay.
He's a healer.
He's a healer and he's a very good boy.
Yeah.
Um. So. So you know how when you first got in here and you first kind of laid eyes on Memoir, you recognized, oh, he's kind of a mess?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's coming back to bite him in the ass.
Oh. Bird need
Because
rest.
this is essentially magical exhaustion.
Yeah.
This
All right.
is Matthias, if you, successfully pulled off a divine intervention and then tried to do another one too soon, this is what it would feel like.
Yeah.
He's not, you know, in danger. He just fucking way overdid it.
Yeah.
And he kind of, he did kind of temporarily faint for a second there, and he starts coming around and he puts his hand to his head and just, oh, that is going to be the headache to end all headaches, and I thought I'd already experienced that.
Okay. Stay. Don't sit up. Just stay right there. Okay.
Roger, Roger.
And Matthias is he is now in help mode because he's gonna go and basically get a glass of water for Memoir.
Oh, bless him.
Yeah.
I will note there are a lot of weirdly shaped glasses. Like, a lot of these are handmade, and so they're very funny shapes and wobbly shapes.
He does not care. The point is
Glass of water.
a glass of water.
I'd say at random, he just picks up, like, a pink one shaped like a flamingo.
There we go. He just grabs and he goes, brings the water to Memoir, very carefully, like, helps Memoir sit up to Sippy, and then has him lay immediately back down, because no, you don't get to sit up right now. Unless you really push, and then he doesn't have the backbone, but that's fine. Don't worry about it.
Memoir is not going to push. He is staying down and keeping his eyes closed because, oh, everything's spinning.
Yep.
Did you get the information you wanted?
Not exactly, but I got an answer.
Is it an answer you're satisfied with, or I can try again?
No. You need to rest. Any more, and you might end up actually doing some psychic damage to yourself. You need to rest. It's fine. You've done a lot more than I honestly could have dreamed. Thank you.
Awesome. Came to me for help. I did my best.
You certainly did, yes. And he means that, because, oh boy. That was a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But he is gonna just sit, and he's not gonna leave. He's gonna actually just stay and kind of make sure Memoir's okay.
Aw, bless.
Yeah.
Please tell me at some point he will at least take a cookie.
Probably.
Good. Please let the boy have a cookie.
He needs to.
He needs a cookie. He had a rough day.
Yeah.
But I think that's probably a good place to cut it out.
Yeah.
Or to cut out from. Just kind of, pan out the door across the field of poppies over the forest.
Mm-hmm.
Into the setting sun.
Yep. I think so, yeah.
That was delightful.
Yay.
Thank you very much for playing with me.
Yeah,
that was
thank
so much
you.
fun.
That was good.
Sorry we accidentally put you on the spot.
That's fine. It's fine. It ended up working out because now there is a tasty mystery that the boy wants to figure out, and uh-oh. It'll be good.
Spaghetti.
It'll be good.
All right, I'm gonna stop my recording now.
Yep.
Everyone say goodbye to our listeners. Goodbye, listeners.
Bye.